Hello and welcome to week 2 of my 21-day oil painting challenge. I've just finished this week, so here's a summary of how it went. If you want to see week 1 before you start watching this video, if you haven't watched that already, that is available. But if you've already seen it or you just want to watch this in whatever order you like, then let's get started. So I guess the first thing to note here is that I forgot to record the start of this time lapse, and that happened to a couple of these paintings, and then I kind of got my act together. I wasn't sure what I was gonna paint for day 8 of this process, and I was scrolling through my phone for ages, and I just thought it was gonna be one of those days where I can't find a reference. So I decided to paint Ball of Sheep, which was a lovely little still life of this tiny ball of sheep. I've had this for years. I got it on a holiday in Yorkshire, I think. We went to some caves and it was in a gift shop. I'm not quite sure the relevance of the sheep being in a cave gift shop, but I've had it ever since. I love its expression and I thought I would make a pretty cute painting. I ended up changing the background of this because I felt the sheep was kind of blending into its surroundings a little bit, so I created him a little field with the sky in the background just to make it stand out a bit. So it's a bit of a weird still life, but I kind of like how it turned out. On day 9, I was still having technical difficulties. I think I was just forgetting to start recording, so there is a part of this time lapse which is missing, but this is from a photo of my sister's cat, and I really love this photo. I think it's such a lovely picture. I've wanted to paint this for a while because of the flowers in the foreground. I thought it would be really sweet, but I think doing it as a pet portrait is a bit difficult because there's not a lot of detail in the cat and all of the detail is in the flowers, but I thought it would be a nice painting to do for this challenge. I think of all the paintings that I did this week, this was probably the most difficult. There was a lot of detail going on in here and there was a lot to fit in a tiny space. The cat's expression in particular, trying to capture something on a face that small, especially when you can't see a lot of detail in the reference image, was really challenging. So I struggled with this and I probably spent a bit more time on it than I should for a speedy challenge. I ended up changing the background a little bit and I got rid of the patch of grass on the right hand side because it looked like it was split down the middle and it was a bit weird. I really enjoyed adding the flowers though. There was a bit more freedom there. I didn't need to worry so much about getting them exactly right as they were in the photo. I could change things up a bit and it was just nice to paint so many colours in one painting. Now, day 10 might be one of my favourite paintings from this week, although there are a couple more contenders coming up. I definitely felt like I was on much more of a roll in the second part of the week. This was one of those unexpected surprises of this challenge where I painted something that normally I just wouldn't look twice at. I've definitely been in more of a painting mindset. These last couple of weeks I've been looking around me everywhere for suitable references and ideas for future paintings, and I saw these pebbles and I'd spilt some water on them and I thought that looks pretty good, you know, and you can see them shining a little bit. It was a little bit in shadow that day, so I waited until the next day until the sun was shining on that spot, and then I poured water on the pebbles again and took loads of photos, and I ended up painting one of those. I was listening to a podcast when I painted this and I just totally lost track of time. While I was doing this, I got so involved in it and so caught up in the moment that, yeah, I have no idea how much time passed. Maybe if I go back and look at that podcast, it'll give me a bit of an idea, but yeah, this was a really nice painting. There are so many colours in there to choose from. I loved adding the sparkle on the water. And I think this is one of those paintings that would be nice to revisit in the future, maybe do it on a larger scale and add a bit more detail. I definitely think there's potential in this, so I'm looking forward to working on this idea in the future. For day 11, I decided to paint the ruins of this abbey, which is from a photo that my dad had taken. I knew for this day that I wasn't going to have a huge amount of time for the painting, so I needed something that I was hopeful I was going to be able to do in a shorter space of time. That being said, I still gave myself about an hour and a half to do this. I got up early to try and get this done. I put on another podcast that was an hour and 20 minutes, so I knew if that podcast was coming to an end, then I really had to hurry up and get organized and leave and do the thing that I was actually supposed to be doing. I really like the light and the shadows on this. I thought it made for a good and interesting painting, and it helped to show the form of this abbey. I also really like the burnt sienna in the background, and it kind of gave it more of an orange glow than was really there in the reference photo that I tried to run with a little bit. I do remember thinking at the time that I didn't really like the painting. I think I was just aware of the fact I was rushing so much, and I felt like I was cutting corners with things, and so it wasn't really my favorite at the time, but it's definitely grown on me. The longer I've looked at it, I actually think in its simplicity, it's a pretty nice painting. For day 12, I was back to painting roses, which is the kind of painting that I did for the very first painting of this challenge. All the way back on day 1 of week 1, I painted a red rose, and this time I decided to do one of the white roses. There's quite a few roses coming out at the moment, and I obviously don't know very much about roses. They'd already bloomed this year, and I kind of thought that was it, and then they would just die back for the winter, but they're all out in force at the moment, and the garden is so colourful, and I'm trying to take photos of all of them to hopefully create many paintings like this throughout the winter months. I really like that white roses have so many colours in them, although that's not initially clear, but there was yellow and blue and purples in these roses. I really liked the yellow, and I tried to make it look as though the rose was glowing a little bit by increasing that, and I was really happy with this painting. Okay, full disclosure, for day 13, I painted it on day 12. And although it did kind of feel like I was cheating a little bit, I still did a day 13 painting. It still exists, I just did it the day before. I knew on day 13 I had so many things going on that day, and I just had no idea when I would be able to fit in this painting, and I wanted to make sure I didn't miss out on a day. So after I finished the rose, I had a break, and then in the afternoon of day 12, I got on with this painting. This is another still life, and it's an unusual subject. It's a ball bearing. I liked it because it was shiny and, you know, simple things. So I set it up, and it reflected the plant and the table. It did reflect me as well, but I thought I'm not putting a tiny self-portrait in the middle of this tiny ball bearing painting. I really like the unusual nature of this still life. This challenge is making me think a little outside the box for these paintings. I've been asking around for unusual objects that I can consider, and this is one of those offerings. So day 14, and I actually did paint this on day 14, so there was no cheating going on here. I decided to wrap the week up with a painting of this lovely gull. It's from a photo that my brother took, and it's not actually what I was going to paint today, but when I got round to setting up and getting ready to paint what I had planned on doing, I just wasn't feeling it, and so I was having a look for some other ideas, and I love this picture, so I thought this would be a really nice one to do. The gull in the foreground is in shadow with just a few highlights on its face, And the background is completely lit up because the sun is shining over that side, and it just feels really atmospheric. There's sunlight all along the coast and it's a really nice contrast, and I just enjoyed every part of this painting. It was just one of those ones where things seem to work, which was great. It was a really nice way to wrap up week 2 of this process, and I'm really pleased with this collection and how it's coming along. I think it's looking pretty good and I'm very excited for week 3. And that's a wrap for week 2. Here's the collection of paintings so far. I'm really enjoying adding to this, and I think it's going to be nice seeing them all together when I've got 21 days worth of paintings done. Let me know what you think in the comments, if you've done a challenge like this before, or if you have a favourite painting so far of this series. I'll be back next week with a summary of the 3rd and final week of this oil painting challenge, so I will catch up with you there. As always, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you'd like some more art-related content. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.